That's them parakeets. Okay, now if you can bear with me for a minute, just while I'm having a little wander, I'll try and collect my thoughts. And as a lot of, bearing a lot on what the small video I made the other day concerning coinkydinks and programming and many other things. I will have to collect my thoughts. There is coincidence. Look at this little beauty. Is it just a wood pigeon? Oh, I did think it was a wren. I'm going to try not to get distracted, but I'm still collecting my thoughts. Yeah. Coincidences and things, yeah? Now, a few years ago now, when The Big Bang Theory, the TV programme on E4 day after day after day, I was watching that, and the character Sheldon mentioned a book by Edwin A. Abbott, and it just so happened that recently to that, I'd been to Bromley Library for perhaps the first time in 10 years almost, and I had picked up the book Flatland by Edwin A. Abbott. Just a coincidence? I mentioned it to my friend at the time, and yeah, just said the same thing, coincidence. And then as I'm coming up to where I am now, this tree, quite physically, literally, as they're coming up to this tree, there's been a lot of talk recently about these things. You see them? So this is the park where I did my circle in the dark, and I walked straight past them, never noticed them. And look at them, aren't they beauties? And a nice leaf on the top for scale. So is it these mushrooms things everywhere? You just don't look for them? Once again, I had it all sewn up in my brain earlier, and perhaps I'll walk for a second and zip it forward. Even though my lady says she doesn't like it too much. Dustin seems to like it, and I will do one just for him. But yeah, so coincidence. Also, my lady said something to me today which is fully in line with everything I want to speak about. It was those fateful French words, déjà vu. And it plays also with that glitch in the system where the black cat crosses Neo's path twice. Now, as I've been watching Prisoner Cell Block H for the last couple of months, I keep noticing certain topics brought up, certain references to people made, that I've found increasingly in many such soap operas and TV dramas and sitcoms. And yeah, it's all part of that programming. I'm going to try going down this way and go back towards that sunset. That was beautiful, wasn't it? mean, for instance, within the past week watching Prisoner, in one episode there was a mention of cannabis and Rockefeller. Now you watch a TV program or a sitcom and you try and find me one that doesn't mention that name. There's a lovely little bench here. Maybe at some point I'll come and sit here. Maybe I'll sit here now. I've got a few minutes. Yeah, that little fella. What's been going on around here then? And there's my flock. Let's wait and see if they come back. Oh, he's a talkative little fella, isn't he? So, where was I? Watching the airplane come in. That's a big fella for local. That's going to Big and Hill. That's a big fella for Big and Hill. Synchronicities, coincidence, programming, tattoos. This is nothing against Dell. It's a small dig at Jed. Tattoos is another subject that keeps popping up in these TV programs. Look at the colour in here. It seems to me that tattooing is quite old. Goes back a long time. And yet, last century, someone has tried stuff on people, experiments, if you will. Well, teaching one generation that something's okay, then ignoring the next generation and allowing them to form an opinion of their own. But then for the next generation to completely reverse the first opinion, i.e. tattoos are bad, now tattoos are good. And this goes in those stupid little cycles, doesn't it? It did so for the last 100 years at least. And it's a moot point. Tattoos are a personal expression, aren't they? Whether people think that, you know, they're brandings, gang affiliation, markings, that's just a personal expression, isn't it? I'm part of this gang. Good for you. Because your tattoo says so. It's not all about tattoos, but this is what brought it to mind and sort of picked it all together in some ways. But these topics that keep popping up, drugs as well. I mean, in Prisoners of Walk H, they talk about drugs, and they add cannabis into that, and you should see the way they portray cannabis smokers. I mean, it's just bizarre, it's just laughable, and yet I can't help but feel it was done intentionally. A generation above me, my mum included, and my aunts and stuff, fully against cannabis and drugs of all type. And I truly believe now that it's because of the programmes they watch. It wasn't because of the books they read, the doctors they spoke to, the personal experiences they had themselves. It was Prisoner Cell Block H and Neighbours, Grange Hill. There should be a damn disclaimer. Perhaps there is and no one ever noticed. Perhaps there is and no one noticed. And truth in plain sight, as always. I asked my lady, she's getting into Prisoner at the moment, watching it with me. It was groundbreaking in its day for its adult topics, its far out opinions on certain things. I asked my lady, do you know who's in more episodes than anyone else? No, she says. I said, have you even noticed her yet? Who are you talking about? She says. I said, did you see the Queen? She's in every episode at one point or another. Whether it's in the rec room, the governor's office, the dining hall, the library. Whether they go to court. It's astonishing how many times the Queen pops up in Prisoner Cell Block H. Make of them what you will. We'll look back on them in a minute. Now, I know many of the people that watch this first will be like, yeah, it's so obvious, yeah, we all know this. But yeah, many people do not. And thinking about these things has brought to mind something Jazz was saying about what we're all doing here. Why are we first and all that crap. Oh, sorry, not crap, yeah. And another thing Jazz said about why. I think one of the reasons I'm making my videos is to try and explain why I now think as I do. And exploring these old TV programmes that I did not watch Prisoner when it first came out. I remember watching it a few times, staying at my auntie's house, staying up very late at night. It was exciting and it was a grown-up programme. It was brilliant. I only ever watched about 4 episodes and yet it made such an impression. But now as a grown-up, I've gone out and started watching it again and I'm now almost on episode 400. I did the same thing for Grange Hill and first few episodes of Neighbours and things. Just the subjects that keep popping up. While watching Grange Hill, they mentioned looking into the Coriolis effect, while at the same time in the flat earth area they was discussing the Coriolis effect. I can't help feeling that a lot of people are just discussing moot points. These topics that are not your own ideas but have been put into your brain to discuss endlessly for no reason. To get you nowhere, to take you around in circles. 14:12, I'll stop and come back. Almost immediately. Almost immediately. I'm going to lose myself again. Where was we? Moot points. Running around in circles. Parakeets getting me all distracted. Look at the skies. I'll go around here and see these mushrooms, see if it triggers something. I can't help feeling that this is that strangulation I've been talking about. This space is that concrete surrounding stopping us from expanding our mind. So much that everybody's discussing are ideas not our own. You know, I'm referring to myself here in many ways as I speak. I never refer to you personally. I am speaking generically to all those yous that do not understand me. There's that flock every time I walk behind something. I'm not going to get it, am I? I have to go, I'm late already. A lot of the ideas people wish to discuss are ideas that have already been fully discussed and explored by others. Just not by us. I'm glad that people are discussing it. New stuff will come out of it. Even then I feel... Have a quick look at these and we'll move on. A lot of people coming out, my smelly old joint getting in the way. You can pause it, can't you? Such a beautiful shot. Very cool shrooms. So, coincidence, deja vu. All part of this infinite cycle of living this life, one very similar to it, again and again and again. Noticing changes in your personal life, remembering something you've done before, significant or not. All part of that.
I'm not a smoker, but I just breathe heavy.
That'd be why I breathe heavy then. So, this is where we are anyway today. Off, sit back. There we go, Poverest Park. And of course, let's have a quick look up here. Like I told you, Loxley Drive, Robin Hood's home territory. Him supposedly having been from noble lineage. We do of course have, like I said before, Friar Tuck Avenue. I do believe all these little stories are, and these roads are put there to keep the hero in your mind. Keep that hero in your minds and you won't get out and do it yourself. That is what the hero is for. Look at that. Can we get that green today? Not with that cloud behind there. There is a hero locked away within inside everybody. And I know it sounds like pretentious bullshit, but it's true. Just because most do not know how to release the hero Yeah, teasing me, innit? Innit? Teasing me. Look at that. Let's hold still for that one. Isn't that a treat? Do you see the silver lining? What a beautiful evening. So, even though they might not mean much to many, from now on, all these little coinkydinks, I will document them. Some things make more of an impact than others. This is what people talk about, childhood trauma, PTSD, you know, they make an impact in your eternal cycle, and it makes it almost eternally hard to change that, whether it's a good or a bad thing. You understand? Traffic to Biggin Hill tonight. It looks much further away in the image. It's almost right above my head. I seem to have become a little bit of a narcissist in the last 2 weeks, watching myself too much. I do really want to get around to watching other people's and making my little comment videos. Monday morning I'm going to do a mailbox moan day and answer any comments. Oh, sorry about that, try and keep that in view. Well, as always, just thank you all for any support, any and all support. Even the comments where you say you disagree with me are much appreciated. It makes me think, why? Not enough people ask why, do they? Oh, excuse me. They're all around me. Can't get them. Oh, listen, someone mentioned starlings. Guess what I saw today? A little flock of starlings. I was saying I hadn't seen one for years, it seems. Maybe I just haven't been looking for them. But yeah, I see one this morning. Only a small flock, but yeah. Just above Loxley Drive, in fact. I probably haven't made myself clear at all. But sometimes it helps to listen to myself back to help just clarify myself, help change my own opinions on my own thoughts, or what I hope are my own thoughts. They're not pre-programmed and put there by the TV programs I've watched, the books I've read. Thinking outside the box, that is what they say, isn't it? Don't be a square. I might even stick this one to music. Oh, it's a beautiful evening. Even looks good on my little iPod camera. I'll have a little wander home in a minute and see if anything comes to me. And I haven't finished with this topic. I will have to come back to this because I'm definitely sure I haven't made myself clear today. Except for the part about knowing about the programming that's there and having not noticed it yet. But it is there. And like I said, part of making my videos is to try and explain why I now think as I do. That's not going to be easy at all. Despite there being the light bulb moment where I just knew everything was a lie, and I don't live where they told me I lived. There's a whole backstory to that, a whole bigger picture that I cannot share with you in any one video, ever. I'd like to summarise it and put it into a single neat episode, tie it all up and say, there you go, job done, see you all later. Actually, I'd missed the walk and talk. I found it quite enjoyable. Impoverished Park of the Twilight. So yeah, this is the analogy I had in my head. Tree on the left is this generation. Tree to the next right is the in-between generation, the parents, and then the next tree is the grandparents. So the grandparents and the grandchildren will have opposing views. And then this will work with the next tree along, and the parents and their grandparents, which would be your great-grandparents. Okay? And then, the full circle would be going back to the great-great-grandparents and them having the same opinion as the child, with the grandparents smack in the middle having the wholly opposed opinion. I can't even see the trees. But once upon a time, this would have happened naturally over many generations. But I think in the last 100 years, this was compacted to prove a point. To prove a point of what could be done. I mean, it's bad enough as it is, but it could have been horrific. It could have been horrific. Perhaps our job is to stop it becoming horrific. As it stands, it's downright disgusting. Downright disgusting. So what is it they say? Red sky at night, shepherd's delight. Now, I took a little bit of moon footage the other night. I was trying to put some song to it. And I came across a version of Silent Night. It made me think of something. Holy night. All is bright, all is calm. Holy. What if it just means there's a hole in the sky? A tunnel, perhaps. And through that tunnel, stripped of almost all light, all colour, should I say, we have what appears to be a moon through this hole, through this tunnel. And as this hole moves across the sky, from different angles, the shadow casts a crescent. Holy night, your holiness, your worshipful holiness. If you have a bath, or even if you have a sink, if you have a strong enough faucet, tap, put a plug in and turn it on really fast, and as it begins to fill up, look closely at the bubbles emanating from that powerful stream. This image of these bubbles popping up and floating along, some bursting, some not. This is the negative image of space that has been given to us, whereby the planets would be the bubbles and space would be the water. Things really have been given to us in mirror form. I'm not sure many have yet grasped why. I'm not even sure I have, though I like to think sometimes that I have. Of course I do, I think many people do. I know all the answers. Why won't no one listen to me? And perhaps that's part of how you're supposed to feel. That's part of that programming. When we all bow in worship before the TV. What are you filling your negative space with? I think far too many have been allowed to fill it with trash. People keep remarking on that, my lady in particular, on how ridiculous the American elections are at the minute. And damn, I don't know what's coming next. This is someone wanted it, innit? I think deja vu, that feeling of, oh, I've been here before. I've lost the thought, but there is a negative of that, which is that moment when you've made a change. There is a feeling almost exactly the same as deja vu. My son said to me yesterday, oh, I felt like I was out of my body for a minute, like I was just playing a game. I do like that idea, what a word, that idea that this is all a simulation, because it's all happened before, and there's a bigger chance that we are one of a bazillion programs running to find out the truth of things. And perhaps we are. Perhaps there are a bazillion programs running to find out how and why it went wrong. Let's see if we can fix it. There's a series of books by Robert Jordan called The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time is mentioned time and time again, many places. And they say that the Earth, the Sun, the Moon, the universe itself is a cosmic timepiece. Oh, I love this image, I think it's beautiful. In my mind, I like to think of the Sun and Moon almost as those dipole magnetics. Moving in perfect conjunction to the universal heartbeat. Bump, 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 bump. I was thinking of the universe and its great cosmic breath of every 25,000 years. 25 out, 25 in. What if in those in-between times of the breathing in and out, the atmosphere is small and becomes large in the middle of the breath and the exhalation? What happens to life in those times? With the bottom switch of the breath, would everything be tiny? And then the middle of the breath, everything would be gigantic. Perhaps that 25,000 years is not the breath, but just the beat. Boom. Perhaps the cosmic breath is even longer, far more powerful and memorable than many have realised until quite recently. Perhaps they knew better in the old days than we know now. I'll have to bug out in a moment. I've kept you for ages anyway. I will return to this. I will try and catch those parakeets. And I will keep my beady eye, little eye open for these coinkydinks I keep finding everywhere. And no, I don't spend my time worrying about it. But I'd always have my eye open for them. And they just keep falling into my lap. I've said since I started my channel, if I could, I would do one on the TV sitcom Friends. And there are things in that, oh my goodness, I cannot watch that programme in the same way anymore. Teams of writers spent a very long time on that programme, I'll tell you now. And I could wax lyrical about it for hours. Though I will not just yet. Pre-programming, deja vu, moot points. We need to start growing new flowers on old roots. Peace and luck to you all.